Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our review show, and we're looking back at all the weekend's action. As we know, there was no men's football this week, so this review show is dedicated to the ladies and the hurlers who both continued their league campaigns this weekend. Starting with the ladies, then, and they held on to beat Dublin by the minimum of margins and pick up their third straight victory in Division 1 at Parnell Park on Saturday afternoon. They won 0-11 to 2-4 in the end. Larcher County were the better team on the day, but just couldn't shake off the attentions of the Dubs until the last minute. It's a third win on the trot for the reigning Division 1 League champions. They beat Kerry on the opening day of the season and then backed up that first round victory with a win over old rivals Tyrone last weekend before making the trip to Parnell Park for round 3. Armagh flew out of the traps at the start of the game on Saturday and raced into an early 4-0 lead. Their top scorer for the campaign so far, Niamh Reel, got things up and running before Maeve Lennon doubled Armagh's advantage. Aoife McCoy added a score for the visiting side before Niamh Reel claimed her second of the day, and that made it a 4-point game. Dublin's revival looked to have been dealt a blow when they lost cornerback Jess Tobin to the sin bin for a yellow card offence, but the Dubs did fight back. Kate Sullivan grabbed their first score of the game, and that arrived on the 18th minute mark, and it was the opening goal of the day. The Dubs then levelled matters moments later with Chloe Darby slotting over a close range free. Armagh got their noses back in front just before the half-time break, with Niamh Coleman and Niamh Reel both splitting the posts. Niamh Henderson could have hit the net for Armagh, but her effort flew wide of the goal, and at the other end of the field it was Ciara Rowe who narrowed things just before the half-time break, with Armagh ahead by 1 point, 0-6 to 1-2. Niamh Reel fired over another free at the start of the second period, while the experienced Caroline O'Hanlon got her name on the score sheet as well. Kiva McNally and Niamh Henderson both raised white flags as Armagh stretched their lead to 5 points. A converted free from Jodie Egan kept Dublin in touch, but Armagh replied at the other end through the reliable Niamh Reel. A quick-fire 1-1 from Naomh Hetherington made it a 1-point game and made Armagh sweat late on, but they did hold on to win by just 1 point. A vital and brave interception by substitute Eve Lavery was crucial at the end of the game to secure Armagh's victory, and it's the ladies who will now have a break following round 3, and their next game will be on home turf. They'll face Mayo in round 4, and that game is going to be played in the Boxit Athletic Grounds as part of a double header with the men. So both the ladies and the men will be taking on Mayo that night, and that's in 2 weeks' time. So the scorers then, as mentioned, Niamh Reel has been in fine form in front of the post. She hit 0-8 last week against Tyrone, and she added 0-5 to her tally for the season. 4 of those coming from frees on Saturday night. She was one of 7 scorers on the night for Armagh, and Niamh Coleman, the Armagh midfielder, chipped in with a point, as did Caroline O'Hanlon. She had a free as well, and that was both midfielders, Niamh Coleman and Caroline O'Hanlon, getting on the score sheet. Aoife McCoy struck a point, as did Niamh Henderson, Maeve Lennon and Kiva McNally. So for Dublin, Naomh Hetherington hit the 1-1 late on in the game, and she ended the game as top scorer, while Kate Sullivan grabbed the other goal for Dublin. Chloe Darby, Ciara Rowe and Jodie Egan also split the post for the Dubs. They all ended the game with 1 point apiece, and all 3 scores coming from dead ball efforts. So the league table now for the ladies, they are the reigning Division 1 league champions, as we know, and they're currently tied at the top of the table. Meath are the only other unbeaten team in the division. They've won all 3 of their opening games, as have Armagh, so both sides are tied at the top, but Meath just ahead currently on score difference. Kerry and Waterford are the next 2 in line. Kerry have won 2 of their 3 games. Of course, that one defeat beside their name is against Armagh from the first round, while Waterford have played 3 and they have won 1, but they've lost 2, Dublin and Kildare. And Tyrone as well, all of the same record. They've played 3, they've won 1 and lost 2, so they're on 3 points, while Mayo are at the bottom of the table. They've played 3 and yet to pick up a single point. They've lost all 3 of their league games. So on to the hurlers then, and Armagh suffered a second round defeat at the hands of Wicklow with 9 points the difference at the Box Athletic Grounds on Sunday afternoon. Wicklow won 2-19 to Armagh's 0-16. The home side edged the first half, leading by 2 points at half time, but the Leinster men stepped things up after the turnaround to win by 9 in the end. Armagh got off to the worst possible start, with Wicklow rattling the net after just 2 minutes of action. Shay Harvey did reply for the Archer County, while Shawnee Germain and Warren Kavanagh split the posts for Wicklow. Points for Armagh from Charlie McArdle and Park McNaughton kept the home side in touch, but Wicklow kept their noses ahead through John Tomney and Shawnee Germain. Armagh then hit a purple patch and made a count on the scoreboard as they rattled off 4 points on the trot. Donny McGee landed a free and that kick-started the scoring spree for Armagh, with Conor Ranahan, Shay Harvey and Joe O'Connor all following suit. Shawnee Germain and Shay Harvey then traded scores while Donny McGee raised a second white flag, putting Armagh ahead for the very first time. Charlie McArdle on another free from Donny McGee grew the advantage for Armagh, while Wicklow finished the scoring for the opening period with another free from Shawnee Germain. That left Kieran McKeegan's men 2 points to the good at the half-time break, with the scoreline reading Armagh 0-11, Wicklow 1-6. Wicklow hit 7 of the first 8 points after the half-time break, with Joe O'Connor now being Armagh's only scorer during that time. Wicklow then grabbed their second goal of the afternoon through Shawnee Germain to push the travelling team further ahead. Shay Harvey and substitute Stevie Keenan traded scores with Wicklow's Shawnee Germain, who finished as the top scorer on the day with a tally of 110. Shay Harvey landed another 2 from the dead ball, but it wasn't enough to close the gap for Armagh significantly. It's a second defeat of the campaign for the Archer County, who also lost out to Roscommon in the first round of the league. That was last weekend. They now face the challenge of Cavan away from home, and that game is going to take place in 2 weeks' time, so it's a bit of a break first for Armagh before they take into round 3. So looking at the scorers for the Armagh hurlers on Sunday then, Shay Harvey was the top scorer on the day. He hit 0-6, including 3 frees. Danny McGee grabbed 3 points, all coming from the dead ball. And once Danny McGee was substituted, Shay Harvey took over the free-taking duties. So both men landed 3 points from frees. Joe O'Connor and Charlie McArdle hit 2 points apiece, while Park McNaughton, Conor Ranahan and Stephen Keenan all hit 1 point apiece for Armagh. The league table then in Division 3, London are at the top. They've won 3 of their 3 games. Wicklow picked up their second win of the year against Armagh, and that sees them in second place. Then there's Roscommon, Mayo and Cavan. They're all on 2 points apiece, while at the bottom it's Sligo and Armagh. Sligo have played 3 games without a win or a single point. Armagh are on 2 games played, but 2 defeats so far. So they have no points at the bottom of the Division 3 table, but they still have a lot of time left to pick up a few points and hopefully secure safety from the drop. The under-20 hurlers, they began their campaign, their Ulster Shield campaign against Donegal on Saturday afternoon at Claughan in Monaghan, and it was a 3-point loss for the Armagh hurlers. Donegal won by 3 in the end, 0-14 to Armagh's 0-11. Donegal already had 1 game under their belts, having lost to Tyrone in the first round 7-8 to 2-8, and with the 3-team group it was Armagh who had a bye in the opening round, so Saturday was their first game. The game did look beyond Armagh just before the half-time whistle sounded, but the boys battled bravely after the second half started. Armagh had the majority of possession in the second half and outscored their opponents after the turnaround, but it wasn't enough to pick up a victory at the end of the day. It was Archer County that actually got the game up and running, with Conor Carabine splitting the posts inside the first 60 seconds of the game. Donegal replied almost immediately, however, and they tied things up at the other end. Jack Loughlin slotted over free to give Armagh the lead once again, but it was matched by Donegal. 2 on the trot from Donegal put them ahead before Carabine landed his second of the day. Donegal then took control of the contest and registered 7 unanswered points to take a firm grip on the scoreboard. Armagh finished the half strongly thanks to scores from Carabine and Lahern to make it 6 points the difference at the halfway break. It was Donegal not 11, Armagh not 5. Donegal added to that deficit at the start of the second period and rattled off a further 3 successful scores. But the Dracano men failed to score for the rest of the game, and Armagh began to really control possession. Full forward John Joe Gormley got his name on the score sheet, while cornerback Dara Heaney fired over the rest of Armagh's scores with a series of impressive converted frees. That left the Armagh team just 3 behind at the final whistle, not 14 to not 11. Armagh just couldn't find the goal that would ultimately complete the comeback, and they'll be happy with aspects of their performance, particularly that second half. It's Tyrone up next for the under-20s, and that game takes place in 2 weeks' time at Garvahe. And just a few other roundups from the weekend. The Armagh Miners hurlers were also in action on Saturday, and they began their Ulster Shield campaign. They made the long journey to Owenbeg and suffered a 3-12 to 0-8 defeat at the hands of Derry. The Armagh Camogie minor team got their 2025 season up and running on Sunday, and they beat Meath in the first round of the All-Ireland B Championship, winning 4-13 to 2-5. Dara Harney top scored for the under-20s. He hit 0-4 with 4 points coming from frees. Connor Carabine hit the same tally. He hit 0-4 with 2 frees. Jack Lahern got 2 points to his name, and John Joe Gormley also chipped in with a point. So just before we wrap up, we're going to take a look at the football men's league table. Of course, Donegal and Kerry met on Saturday, with Donegal earning a second win of the campaign. So that's everybody on 2 games now in Division 1, and it's Donegal and Galway who have yet to taste defeat. They have 4 points to their names. Donegal in second place and Galway at top spot. Both have won their 2 games. Without even playing a game, Armagh jumped to third, jumping in ahead of Kerry on score difference, and they have won 1 game apiece, as have Tyrone and Dublin. So there's 4 teams sitting on 2 points there in Division 1. At the bottom, Derry and Mayo are still there after 2 games. They have 2 defeats to their record, so there's no points there. Of course, Armagh coming up next week, they go to play the unbeaten Donegal there in Ballybuffet next Sunday evening. So we'll be covering that as usual with all our match reports, our previews, our build-up, our podcasts and everything else. We'll hopefully be back on Thursday. We'll look ahead to that game, Armagh and Donegal in Ballybuffet. We'll hopefully have another Donegal special guest on to preview that show. So make sure to follow us on all our social media pages, The Sideline Eye on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel if that's where you get your podcasts, or onto Spotify as well if that's where you listen to us. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back now next Thursday with a preview show.
Watching